significant when you put it out there that it's going to stand out. So make a melody that sounds different than anything else out there. You don't want to do something that sounds similar to something else, because the ears work really weird sometimes, because even though sometimes it's even using the same patch that somebody else has used, but you do have a different melody, it still sounds like somebody else's melody in a way, because your ears go by that sound, by that frequency.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I get a lot of people send me a lot of stuff, a lot of young producers. Some of them are not there yet, and I could tell they're not there yet, because their drops are not hitting. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Their intros are not, too repetitive and not there hitting right is no good. You know what I'm saying? Especially in EDM music, you want a very traumatic or morbid kind of beginning, and then you want to take it to another level. So it's like going on a roller coaster, right? But you don't want the roller coaster to just do loops. You want it to go backwards. You want it to go forwards. You want it to go sideways. So you got to understand, when you're doing music, you're basically taking whatever it is. If it's a 3-minute track, if it's a 4-minute track, a 5-minute track, you're taking someone on a journey, okay? But you want to take them on a journey that they are looking forward to going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't want to go on a journey and then they say, oh, you know what, take me back. This is a boring ride. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as a producer, everybody says, and that's not true, because you could have the best gear possible, but if you don't know what to put, like creating a sound or creating a drum or creating a riser or a speed up or whatever, a reverse or whatever, and if you don't hit it on a right level, then that throws everything off. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, and again, for the folks listening, see here, it's a learning process, right? And I know a lot of younger producers, and they kind of beat themselves on it, and it was like, no, it's okay. It's part of the process. It's part of the learning process. And that's why.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's gonna take time. You know what I mean? It doesn't come right away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, you have some.
It took time for me to learn. It's going to take them time too. And trial and error is a good thing, because you learn from your mistakes and you figure out what you did wrong. And then you don't have to do that anymore. You got to go, you have to do this to make it right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's that what folks says, it's a learning process. Again, you have the prodigies like Martin Garrix, right? He was 16 or 17 years old. What is it, when Animals came out? And those are the rare ones. Those are the prodigies, right? Those are the 12-year-old concert pianists, or just prodigies. There's just some there's just some of those.
Right. Well, I believe we talked about that, because I always said there's always somebody better than you, because even though I started at 10, right? Like you just said, you could have a kid that their dad was a concert pianist, all right?
Yeah.
And he's like, one of the biggest. And now you become like a prodigy, because that's all you've seen all your life is your dad playing, or your mom is a violinist. And so that automatically goes into your brain. It's like it's computing into your brain. It's creating your DNA, and your DNA structure is music, and that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's always someone better. There's always someone better than you, because they started earlier, or they have a family tree that's all about musicians. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way you can see it too. I always say, if there's somebody good, there's always going to be somebody better coming out. And you have to embrace that, because music is all about creating and putting out new talent and putting out new material. I've been really lucky and blessed, because I have so many people that follow me now. I have so much love from Norway, from Germany, from Italy, from France. And that makes me feel good, because I'm creating something that's giving somebody joy and happiness.
Yeah. And
especially now more than ever.
and especially in dance music, right? Because everyone, anyone from Netherlands and stuff, and in Netherlands,
Right, right,
everyone's
right,
born to produce EDM music in Netherlands, but
right,
and
right.
it's like, and especially if you get the reception from European counterparts, right? That's like the respect, right? Because
Right.
most of the time it's like, oh, the American stuff, it's rubbish, and it's Vegas, all this, it happens in the mainstream, right? It's just like pop music, top 40 stuff, right? Or you go back to the hip hop stuff. When you go back to some of the traditional stuff,
Right.
from the 80s stuff versus you can get into the gangster rap now. How rap is
Right.
nowadays. I mean, the kids' choice is a little bit different now, but anyway, it's the
It's totally
evolution.
different
Yeah.
now. When I was doing rap, it was more of a vibe and more of a feel. Like when I do hip hop drums, it was crazy because I used to have hip hop producers and they used to always ask me something and they'll say, "Ben, why are your drums different than mine?" And I'll
Mm-hmm.
be like, "Well, so what you're hearing is my uh, concept, my idea,
Mm-hmm.
my blueprint of what I put on those drum pads.
Yeah.
So it's going to feel different than listening to something that I'm not saying sampling is bad. I'm not saying that, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying it's going to have a different vibe compared to what you're letting me hear because now you're hearing me. You're not hearing someone else, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Where now the hip hop is very simple. It's very basic.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to it. I'm old school hip hop. I know you are too.
Yeah.
Um, I'm more into that boom bap kind of stuff, and maybe a sound or a very lo-fi melody underneath it, you know, stuff like you would hear Nas and Eric B and Rakim.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to that music, I'm not putting down no music, but I'm just saying the different clash of now how it is now and the way it was back then. Like when you heard a hip hop track back then, you knew what song it was because it gave you that sound, gave you the signature. Automatically, it's Rakim, it's Nas,
Yeah.
it's Busta Rhymes,
Mm-hmm.
it's DMC. You know what I'm saying?
They had their
It's
distinct style.
DMX, it's Jay Z.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. Because you already knew from hearing it because there was a melody, there was a different, there was a sound to it that automatically registered to an artist,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and
where a lot of guys
especially
let me hear some. Go ahead.
not to age ourselves here. You go back to and
Right,
for the audience here, for the audience, you go back to the East Coast, West Coast, right? East Coast sound, West Coast sound. There was
right.
such a distinct different sound in hip hop during that
Yeah,
period of
of
time that
course.
okay,
Without a
these
doubt.
are East Coast. Oh, this is
Right,
West Coast. So in a thing too,
right.
switching back to electronic music, and I think I say some of the challenges we have in the electronic music, whether or not it's trance or techno or house, tech house, or where it is that I guess sometimes that there's I guess you don't have you think about old school like Chicago house style, right? And you
Right,
or Detroit, right? I mean, it's that back then there
right.
was such
Detroit,
a
right.
distinction in that sound. I mean, again, part of it
Right, the
too.
pianos. You knew it was from the pianos. You knew it was from Chicago. You knew from the rhythm. It was the Chicago field track.
Yeah,
Where hip hop is more. You can be repetitive with a hip hop track, but if you have a dope beat to it, it doesn't matter because the rapper is the music is the instrument of
yeah,
that track. You understand what I'm
yeah.
saying?
It breaks it
He's
up.
just laying his
Yeah,
voice on top of a beat. Yeah.
yeah. So switching gears here a little bit, uh, on this on the subject,
Right.
with the I guess what was it the evolution of music, right? We'll talk about the next step,
Right.
right? We had
Right.
we go back 6 7 years ago, or you say let's start from a little bit further back. You go 10 plus years ago. I mean, or people will say, "Oh,
Right.
Tiesto," right? Trance Tiesto, right?
Trans, yes, though, right,
Right,
exactly.
and how
Not
music was
EDM
in
Tiesto,
there,
right,
right?
right,
And it's funny,
right,
in that's old traditional early 2000 trance, and you got a lot, you got a lot of
right,
kids now who are a lot into techno and tech house. Sometimes they
right,
forget a lot of that sound that that boom 4/4 originated from trance that you see nowadays in house and melodic techno, right? That's why for me, if I can
right,
do melodic techno and techno because it still has a lot of that old school trance feel, right?
right.
Um, and it's funny
Mm-hmm.
how what yeah, again, it's funny how it's kind of evolution. Then you kind of forward late 2000s, especially that's when the Vegas style, the main room, big room, electro, that kind of just blew up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then
Right,
now,
progressive.
yeah, and now sort of the biggest thing, and it's obviously house, or house has made a resurgence, right? And a lot of it's, I think, the
Right,
kids, this millennials, not to bash on millennials, but millennials discovering
right,
records, right? And finding and
right,
hearing these old house records, they probably pick up at the dollar
right.
store and stuff like, oh shit, this is like cool as shit, right?
For them, for them, it's new. For us, it's old.
Yeah. Where do you think
So what?
Yeah, where do you think now is the next evolution? I came out thinking, or at least for me, I think that turn back to trance,
You
it's gonna
mean
happen.
combination of music connected to dance music?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where the
Um,
next revolution
I
is
would
kind of
probably,
taking that
I would,
more melodic sound with sort of that, sort of that tech, a combination of trance and more tech house kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it. I hear
well,
it in my head, and I've been trying to
I,
figure it out.
I think it's gonna probably be maybe most likely it'll be kind of EDM slash tech house or um, EDM slash trance. But if you listen to a lot of producers, and I do it also sometimes,
Hmm.
I'll put different genres together and see what I come up with. Because in a way that's good because if you have different genres of music, you have more options for DJs to play it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you see these EDM guys, they don't just play big room. They'll do like big room progressive house, or they'll do like you said house EDM
Hmm.
because they want to hit both realms of the spectrum
Yeah.
as DJs play it. Where they're one guy will be like, well, I'm only trance. You know what I'm saying? Well, this
Correct.
has a trance element to it, so you could put it in your mix. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah, and like for me, and I'll use myself as an example. What I've been trying to do is
Go ahead.
take some funk with house, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
How
Right.
can I put some sort of like a funk, like a slap bass, into house music?
Music is so music is so interesting. I always tell people just mess around with stuff. If you're feeling it, this is what I do. When I do a track and when I'm first listening to it, I'm thinking it's fire, and then I'll listen to it not even the next day, maybe 3 days after.
Hmm.
If I listen to it 3 days after and I still think it sounds like fire, then I'll start working with it, and then I know it's fire
Hmm.
because my ears rested not 1 day but 3 days.
Hmm.
I'm listening to something again that I did 3 days ago, and I'm still getting a good feeling from it. So then I feed from that. If you want to add funk to EDM music, if you put it together and you arrange it in the right order, anything could work. The question is how you put it together, how it's going to sound, and how it's going to sound together. You have to make sure that everything works together. Basically, it's like a gear. You know what I'm saying? You don't
Yeah.
want nothing to slip. You want everything to flow perfectly. If you could do that, anything is possible. Could you do dance music and hip hop? Yeah, you could start it off with a hip hop beat, and then you could do like a drop or interlude or verse effect and you could do that. It's how you put it together. At the end of the day, that's the outcome. So go crazy. That's what I always say. You know what I'm
So You're the only one that hear it first. You know, if it's good enough, then if you don't like it, okay, then no one else will hear it. So
Well, that's what I do. I listen to something. I don't listen to it the next day. It's funny because and it's crazy because I also follow that too. I was in a stage, and Swedish House Mafia was talking, and they were saying about what I just said. They're like, well, and it's true because as a producer, when we play it, when we're working on a track for such a long time, we get bored of that track. So what I usually do is I jump around tracks
same here.
because to somebody else it might be amazing and it sounds great, but if you're hearing it consistently, you start mellowing out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're losing. It's like you're losing momentum. So I always tell people phase off it, jump around, do something else, and then from that you might get ideas to finish off the track. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I call it the incubation time, right? I mean, easily minimally 12 to 18 months on average on a track. For the first time I sit down and start it, and from by the time I say, you know, let me finish this track, right? Sometimes it's usually an average 12 to 18 months. So it's funny, you kind of realize it. And even if I go back and look at, it's like today, 5, 6 years ago, the first EP I ever released was like this day, right? And it was like, you go back in there, and it's funny that some of the tracks that get the most play when I originally released it, I never thought that one's going to be the most played track, but it is,
Right.
And it's, you sit there, it's like, what is it? What was it about that particular track that captured people with a liking in that track, right? Sometimes you don't think about it. You produce it because you want to, right? And you like to. But when you sit back and analyze, okay, I did, you think in your head, it's like, okay, this track was great. Then it's like, not much movement. But this one, I didn't think it was great, but it blows up. You're like, huh? Right? And sometimes, you have to tell yourself, okay, don't overthink it. It is what it is, right?
Just let it
go by itself,
I
it's
always
funny.
fall into that situation because I always think that people are going to like one thing and then they end up liking another thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's good because they're liking your stuff, and them liking your stuff, it's going to feed off them liking the other stuff.
Yep.
It's like it's like creating a picture, right? It's the frame that you put on the picture that's going to make that picture stand out more. If you put like a whack frame on there, but if you put a decent frame on there, then the picture gets a little bit more recognition than just putting, a cheap frame. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Because then people are going to look at it different.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because, like you said, as you start doing something, and I've been doing music for such a long time, and I picked up so much stuff from other people. I learned stuff from Omar. I learned stuff from all these guys, Lenny D. I learned stuff from Frankie Bones. So, and sometimes I don't listen to new stuff because I don't want to sound like anyone else. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I want to sound. That's the thing too. You have to have your own sound. You can't sound like anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Not genre, EDM or ultra. That's different.
Yeah.
I'm saying you don't want to have the same intro as Tiesto. You don't want to have the same intro as Hardwell. You don't want to have the same intro to an extent. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to make it sound too similar to someone else because then you'll be compared from that person. You want to be compared as your own self,
Yeah,
and you want people to recognize you and say, hey.
It's like, especially, when I started, people say, hey, who do you want to, people always ask, who do I want to sound like? I'm like, I just want to sound like myself.
Right.
I don't start it to sound like someone. I just started whatever comes out of my freaking head. Right. And when I first started producing, that always kind of screwed me up. Right. Cause I'm like, okay, how do I create this sound and that sound and sound? Now, it's good to know where the trend's going as far as like hearing what other people are doing to see the trend, right?
Right.
But
Right.
as far as like developing your sound, and again, it's a process. Now, I know that when I work with my buddy Greg Leonti, who I work with in all of my productions. I remember the
Right.
first time I say, "Hey, Greg, I have this idea," and I didn't know how really to, this is honest. I didn't know how to take it from here, open up the DAW, and okay, what do I do?
Right.
I mean, I'll come up with a few melodies here and there. I say, okay, let's play with this.
Mm-hmm.
Versus now,
Right.
I'll have a full, not the perfect structure from a technical standpoint, but at least the end to
Right.
end concept of what I'm trying to sound like or what sound is coming out of. Um, my since the EP I released last year, those tracks,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they started, I mean, again the incubation time. But once I sat down and said, okay, let's just bang this EP out, it is flowed out so naturally, and I think it was the most natural field set of songs that I released. Because the other ones, the way they were written, well, obviously probably written in a different mind space too at the same time. But
Right.
this hearing the difference of knowing where I was mentally when I made those songs versus some earlier tracks and stuff,
Right.
and how different,
Right.
it's like you listen to it, you have different. I mean, when you have your songs, right? You have different emotional attachments to music when you because and now listening to the older tracks, that emotional attachment's different, right? Than when you first release it, and it's kind of it's interesting, right? And as I work at the newer stuff, right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's again another evolution, right? People give shit, to bands and stuff. Oh, they changed their sounds. But people give the Beatles shit for changing their sounds, or people gave shit to Linkin Park for changing their sounds. But it's like a natural thing, evolution, because you're in a
Well,
different mindset. You're completely in a different mindset from
well,
release to release.
well, if if you listen to the EDM tracks from 2 years ago, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you listen to them now, you can hear the change. It's more aggressive. The
Mm-hmm.
drums are more in your face.
Mm-hmm.
They're more technical drops and breaks,
Mm-hmm.
where 2 years ago they were not that much technical. They weren't that, everybody's trying to up each other. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you're trying to, you're not, if you did something in 2014, you're not going to want to sound like 2014. You're going to sound totally different
Yeah.
because you're starting a new phase. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you want to sound like 2020, so you got to come up with the 2020 sound. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I used to have friends of mine, and I used to tell them this was going to be a downfall because you don't want to sound like anybody. Because especially if you're shopping music around to labels, and big labels, they don't need another Tiesto. They don't need another Hardwell. They don't need another Showtech. They already have one. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They want something new, something fresh, something that's going to be, everybody's going to try to create that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you're the one that created it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I used to tell my friends, I'm like, dude, you don't want to sound like anybody else because that is going to hurt you more than help you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them didn't understand until, they got bad news,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, well, you're sounding like so-and-so. You don't want to sound like so-and-so. You want to be your own self. You want to have your own sound,
Yeah. So I'm gonna
But you also want to,
no, it's
sorry.
switching gears here, and now my thing is, especially with the other producers, younger producers coming up and stuff, is to the business side of it, right? And I make such a conscious effort to advise people from my experience, because I've had some missteps on the way. How have you
Right.
been from your experience? How have you been sort of the younger generation? How have you been guiding them? And what would you advise
Promoting?
them
You mean promoting?
from
or in general, just
pro-
starting out?
yeah, from promoting to marketing to the legal side of it and stuff? What are some of the, I guess, the high points that you would, from your experience, from Vinny Venom's experience, what would you kind of like, hey, you need to watch out for?
The first thing I tell them is if they believe they're the new trend, they're the new, excuse my French, you know, uh, they have to get a good lawyer. Why? Because if they're going to get those big deals and stuff like that, they have to have somebody that's going to look over the contract that makes sure everything on the up and up. Second, you have to get a good distribution deal. If you're not gonna be signed to a label and you're gonna put out your stuff yourself, you have to put up a game plan, hook up with the right people. If you're gonna not do it yourself, people that are established in the industry and people know them for that's what they do. Um, Getting your stuff out there. I always tell people the industry is really hard. They say there's only 3%, 9%, but it's really 3% of new artists make it every year. The question is never give up. Promotion is key. If you have a hot track, have to have a hot album cover to follow up that track. And promotions, they have to look professional. They can't look rinky-dink because if you're trying to get attention for the big league people, they don't want to see something that looks amateur. They don't want to see an amateur hour. They want to see something that looks professional. So if they decide to work with you on a business note, you're working with a professional. And it's also about devotion and drive. You know what I'm saying? You can't just, you constantly got to put stuff out. As Gary Vee would say, quality, quantity, and consistency. So if you're constantly putting out good music and you're putting out good material behind that good music, good looking covers, good looking video, promos, how you advertise yourself, and then you have other DJs that start seeing that. And I've been lucky and blessed because I have a lot of DJs that respect me and enjoy my music and playing my music on their station and twittering and stuff like that. That's going to take a lot of devotion and drive, and it's going to take a lot of work. Get this like yesterday. You know what I mean? You know how long I've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take time. You have to understand, well, not now, but when everything was normal, you have how many records come out a day? I can't even imagine because I don't even know. So much music comes out from Beatport, Spotify, iTunes. So you're competing with so many people out there that are hungry and driven. So you have to be as driven and hungry or even more hungry and driven as them. And you have to get a following. You have to have people behind you that are not you, but they're twittering your stuff. They're letting people know about you. DJs are contacting you and say, hey, when is your new album going to drop? There's a lot of variables that you have to put together a game plan before you set everything in motion before you do anything. So it's a lot of work. First thing I always tell people is get an amazing lawyer, someone that people are going to recognize in the industry, and other lawyers are going to know that person too for being a good lawyer and winning cases and lawsuits and in that level, because you want somebody that has cojones. You know what I mean? You don't want somebody that's it's got to be a heavyweight, not a lightweight lawyer. That's the first thing you got to do. And then everything else, what I basically said, it's just constantly doing it. Consistency, quality is key. And you have to always put out good material, always be humble, be respectful to your fans, appreciate the love and the support that they're giving you, because they're the ones that make you who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely, most definitely. Now, and talking about the fans now, I know besides what obviously everyone's life's been kind of been on pause. What does the fans have out there looking forward to in the next once everything settles back to somewhat normal, or at least in a better state where we're at right now? What does what do you have in store in the next 6 to 9 months coming out?
Well, I have the first vocal track coming out. Cutting. That's the label that I'm still signed to as an artist and producer and A&R for my team. So it was supposed to be out way before everything, this horrific nightmare that's everyone in this world. That was supposed to be out already. It was supposed to be out after the Winter Music Conference, so it should have been out already. And then I'm working on another track, and just from connecting with my fellow producers, I might be doing something with another producer of mine in the future. I've always worked with other people. Certain people, things clicked. Certain people didn't click. There's certain people in mind that I'm going to probably work with. I don't mind working. I'm not like one of those guys because sometimes when you add somebody into the mix, it makes things better than worse because you're getting a different aspect of somebody's imagination. You might have an imagination, but somebody might have a different imagination to you. And when you put that imagination to with somebody else, things go a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've done that with people that I've worked with compilations and stuff. And sometimes I'll put so much in a track, I don't even know what to put in it no more. And that's when I go, okay, this is what you got to do. I'll add 50% of it, and then the other person will add the other 50%, and then we'll come up with something totally different that I would just come out if I did it 100%. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Same here. And it's always, there's a comfort level with those you've worked with before. I've been very selective who I've worked with over in the past, over the years and stuff, just because,
Absolutely.
just because, you have that working relationship, they know how to pick your brain. They can tell you to add, no, that sucks. And you don't take offense to it,
It's not the question of that with me.
yeah,
With me, it's totally different because talent is something that everybody has. For me, it's the people that are procrastinators or they're not as driven or devoted as me or in general, because that could just stop everything right there. I worked with people that at one minute they had the drive and the energy, and then for some reason it just fell off.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Want someone that has, like, I'll give you a perfect. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
When I worked with Axial, right? Me and him were a perfect mix, but he went back to school, and that was his thing, and I get it. And he appreciated me putting him with me and putting me on. He was the type of kid, and I'll say he's a kid because he's younger than me. I did the Monkey in the Middle track. I sent it to him. I didn't tell him we're gonna finish it the same night. He says to me, Vin, the shit is fire. He goes, I'm gonna start adding stuff to it. If I tell you not even an hour, he started sending me stuff. That showed me how driven and devoted he was on getting the project done. And that's not just with that. That's with other music that I worked with him too. That's what you need. You're as strong as your weakest link, okay?
Yep.
If you want to succeed and have a partner or someone you're collaborating with, that link is got to be unbreakable. Because if it's from one link is weak, everything's going to fall apart.
Oh yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Especially and
unfortunately that happens with a lot of businesses.
They have a lot of businesses in a having been in a band, right? And the challenges of having 5-6 different people and the level of motivation to get it done. I remember, there was a period of time in which, some of the members were just gung ho, ready, go to the studio, start writing stuff. Other ones was kind of laissez-faire, or call me when it's my turn. But it's such a huge collaborative effort, especially with the band, and it has to be a democracy too, right? And that's always the challenge part, because obviously the egos, right?
Right. Right.
I've seen a lot of the struggles we had with egos, but then also I've seen other bands that, God, if they would just take their heads out, where, they would have made it, right? And it's quite often, again, to say what the percentage, right? 3%, right? And
right.
For me to
3%.
And for me to do any work with anyone else or help them produce, yeah, same thing. Unless they really serious and say, "Hey, you want to do it?" Okay, now I'll sit down.
And amazing. Right?
Yeah, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it takes a lot of effort. It takes.
The other thing you
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was
you
just
mentioned the Beatles, and I was gonna, because when you mentioned the Beatles were an example because they didn't only create music, they created sound and quality and different effects that was added to their music.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they would add, let's say, they would have a fan behind a speaker while they're doing their vocals to come up with different ideas that no one ever thought of.
Yeah.
So if you listen to a Beatles track, it's a whole concept. It's a whole blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
They created an illusion of sound with the music that they put behind everything else that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So that shows you what kind of artists they were. They weren't like the normal artists. They were looking to take it to the next level. And they did for a lot of people because a lot of people emulate themselves and say, well, the Beatles did this, the Beatles did that, and that's how they were emulated and situated to certain other artists. Their kind of blueprint, but went a different way. But the same way the Beatles went,
Mm-hmm.
they try to be original, they try to be unique. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And that's where, and again, it's, suggestion out there, right? It's, don't be afraid to try something completely off the wall.
Right. Exactly.
Because you never know what's going to come out of it. Actually, I mean, I think there's some stuff I've been working on too. In using an example, I use the basis of it's been my voice, but then able to then chopping it up to use it as like a instead of like a choir VST, right? I'm using my voice to kind of manipulating the sounds and all that stuff, and it's like something that I would never thought I would do. I mean, I don't think I have the greatest. I'm definitely not a singer. I could probably hold a tune here and there, but to take that sound and experiment, hey, what can I do? What can I do with it, right? And it's like, oh shit, it's like, hey, this is kind of cool. It's like, yeah, you have to say, okay, can't be afraid to do it and see what happens. Just say screw it, see what happens. But go with the flow.
With the technology that we have now, plugins that we have now, we can take it to a different level. Years ago, we couldn't take it to that level. I mean, there's so many things out there that you start messing around with, something out fresh and brand new. I would come up with just using wave plugins and just adding one thing on something else, and then just filtering and see what would come out of it. Like, wow, that sounds sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I would put it, I would sync sound, and I'm like, that sounds sicker. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's basically you have to be a mad scientist, and you have to have chemistry that makes different kind of chemicals, and see what colors come out of those chemicals. Do they make colors? There's different things. You gotta try.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely.
Trial and error. Everybody that back in the day, they messed around with stuff. If it worked, they went with it. If it didn't work, they worked until they figured something out. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. All right. So anyways, so moving to the next section here on the show, what we do is we have some sort of fun questions, right? So I just got a couple listed out here and stuff, and you can rapid fire with an answer. So anyways, so first question would be, what was the first CD or cassette, or for in our case probably records, that you bought?
The first song or cassette that I ever bought, first thing I ever bought to listen to?
Yeah.
Native Love, The Vine.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a good one.
When I heard that track, I was hooked on that.
There you go.
And it wasn't really the music.
Uh-huh.
The music was part of it. It was the Vine's voice that you know the song I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Love is restless, and I'm just not satisfied. Just that alone, and that was it. Man, love.
Gotcha. Good choice. Good choice. What is the best memory you had? Either, obviously you used to rap and stuff. Is it performing or hearing your own music in front of a crowd or with a crowd?
I produced in a club, and I rapped in a club in Staten Island called Scarlet's. It was a strip club. It was a strip club. That was pretty. That was
Yeah,
pretty
you don't have to say more than that. It's like attention span. Then
and it was even better because I hooked up with a couple of dancers too.
Oh, there you go.
The gig, so it was a good night.
There we go. So nothing to complain about that.
It was a good night.
No, I never had that experience. Playing strip club. What do you think, right? Being in a rock band at one point in time.
Me to say that to you, huh?
No, that threw me off for a second there. I was like, okay, you got me, man. You got me. I can't beat that one. I thought House of Blues was the pinnacle of my career. So, what would you say if you were to say what would you suggest to your younger self?
That's a question I ask myself a lot. Certain things that I did, I wish I could take them back. Certain people that I met, I guess all of us fall into this category. We meet certain people that, they're not good for us. I guess I would want to go back and try not to avoid certain people and certain situations that I was put into being involved with certain people, I guess, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So I would want to take those back. There's certain people that associated with that were not really helping me, but hurting me. So I would probably do that.
Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. What are some of the things you want to say out there to the fans, those who are watching either live now or, who probably watch this later? What's some of the things you want to kind of talk about, things from you, from the heart? What are some of the things you just want to say out there to the world?
Well, the first thing I would tell them is to be safe, stay healthy. Hopefully we'll get through this really fast. As fast as it came, it'll go away. Understand that this situation that we're in right now, I don't think anybody didn't want to be put in this situation, but now we're in the situation. So understand if it might not hurt you, it might hurt somebody else or one of your loved ones. So be cordial on being around people that are sick. I'd like to thank everybody for all the support they've been giving me, all the DJs, all the fans here on social media in general, all over the world. I really appreciate hearing from them every single day. It's not even about music, it's just talking in general, because as you are a fan, right? But now you're like a brother to me. Mm-hmm. So it's like I have like this bigger family that I ever had before, because now it's like I don't just talk to them about music. I want to know how they're doing, what's going on with them, if they're DJs, if they have stuff going on. I've always been like that. I've always been a person that was helpful or wanting to understand what they're doing and be involved if I can and help. And just knowing what they're doing besides what I'm doing, just just trying to see what their goals and what they're looking to achieve.
No. Well, I am my brother. I want to say thank you for being my first guest, bringing the series back. And man, it's been insightful.
Most definitely, man. I appreciate it.
It's been insightful. I hope the fans watching this took something from it, learned something about the industry, learned something about music production, learned a little bit more about Vinny. Hope you guys be safe out there. Again, Vinny, my dear brother, Thank you. You be safe out there, and we're always chatting with each other every day. So, all right, appreciate it.
You too, brother. I want you, your family, everyone in your circle. I want everybody to be healthy. That's the most important. And you got to remember, even though we do music and everything else, the most important thing in our life is our family
Mm-hmm.
and our well-being, and for everybody else's well-being. Because look at the situation that we're in. You know, so many people are dying. People that I know passed away. Music artists that I know passed away because of it. So we have to take things a little bit more seriously and don't take nothing for granted, and always understand that we all have to be there for each other. I mean, everybody, because now we have to help each other more than ever before, because now we really need it. So just be safe and be healthy, guys. That's all I have to say.
All right, and that's it to the fans out there. You guys be safe. Again, thank you to Vinny. Um, when the video is posted
Thank you,
up,
Afra, man. Appreciate
yep,
it, brother.
we'll have all Vinny's socials, links, and also on my Spotify page. I will link up all Vinny's track and stuff. So you make sure you check out the Spotify page. Or we'll link up over to all his tracks. So you guys be safe out there. Again, later we'll be back again later this week with another guest. But again, for those out there, be safe, and I'll see you guys next time.